19 days. 19 days for the portal to be open. It is now officially open. So the question I have is, who on this edition of Village Vice goes into the portal while we're talking to you? He's Zach Blackerby. I'm Brad Law. This is Village Vice, a brand new week. This show is brought to you by mybookie.ag. They will give you a 300% deposit bonus in the casino. Yeah, right now, when you use the promo code at the bottom of your screen, next round, they'll also give you 50 free spins. So take advantage of that while you can at mybookie.ag. Okay. Well, immediately, Zach, we begin with Auburn's quarterback room, half the size that it was, maybe, I guess, less than that, because Peyton's graduating. Holden's going to get in the portal. Hank's getting in the portal. Got to do some work to rebuild and restructure the quarterback room. I don't think it's a surprise that you're having to restructure the room. But now we know some exact pieces that won't be there.
It is kind of funny that right now, as we record this, the senior quarterback, the veteran quarterback in the room is Walker White.
Yeah. Between
him and Duke. That's pretty wild. Some predictions coming in, and if you're a member at the barn, thebarnauburn.com, go sign up. First month is $1. You already knew that this was coming, that if Hank Brown were to leave, Ashton Daniels, the former Stanford quarterback, would be projected to land at Auburn to fill that backup role that Hank has now left open. And that's exactly what happened, right? You know, Hank announces he's entering the portal, and then you saw some crystal balls or RPM. I guess it was RPMs. I think it was on 3 that made the prediction. But of Ashton Daniels, the Stanford quarterback, they're predicting him to be a part of Auburn's roster. So people freaked out for a second because his stats are terrible. I don't think he's a great quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. But can he serve as a backup? A guy who played 33 games at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
He's experienced. He's at Stanford. You assume he's intelligent. And as a backup role, let him compete with Walker. Yeah. I don't see the downside to this.
I don't either. It's like bringing in an experienced offensive lineman that you hope doesn't play as an upperclassman. That, all right, if he's not going to start, he's not going to start and give you 50, 60 snaps a game. But if you get in a pinch and you need somebody to run a few plays or a drive I don't know. I think about a situation like 20 years ago, Brandon Cox was sick and couldn't play in a game, and Blake Field came and started the game. It was against Western Kentucky, and they were fine. It was fine. So I don't ever dislike experience at the quarterback position. A guy who's thrown 600 college passes for a power conference team. As a backup option, I don't hate that.
Yeah, and I want to have this discussion with let's make sure proper context is out there, because I'm a little surprised with the negativity around this. And people see, the prediction graphic that, a national publication points out and oh, this is Hugh Freeze as starting quarterbacks. Stop it. So one of this is he's not expected to start a game at Auburn. I think there's a real chance that Walker beats him in that QB2 battle. We'll see. I think Auburn fans should hope that happens. But there's also the element of you have to stack your room accordingly.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense to get a backup quarterback that's a redshirt sophomore or redshirt freshman. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because then what does that say to Walker and to Deuce? I've seen so many Auburn fans that talk about why in the world would you get 2 quarterbacks, because what is that going to say to Walker and to Deuce? Neither of these guys are concerned about this guy who's going to be here for a season. Deuce Knight and Walker White are not concerned about Ashton Daniels.
Right.
If they are, we have other problems at bay. I promise you they're not. With Ashton Daniels having 1 year left of eligibility, it doesn't impact the clock for Walker or for Deuce. Other folks that are saying, well, why doesn't Hugh Freeze just develop one of these guys and hopefully Walker or Deuce becomes the backup? I promise that's the goal.
Yeah.
I promise they're bringing in a guy that has experience like Ashton Daniel, who's been okay other places.
Yeah.
And they're saying, look, we need you to come compete with Walker. To me, why are we doing this? And then it's okay, well, if that's the case, why don't just ride with 3 quarterbacks? because you can't ride with 3 quarterbacks.
Right.
Not in the SEC.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm almost done. But this isn't Madden. This isn't the new college football game, which is fantastic.
Get them.
Where you can just switch a quarterback in and out. You have to run practices, Brad.
Yeah.
You can't run practices
Get them.
with 3 quarterbacks.
Get them.
So all this crap about, well, this is disrespectful to Walker to do. No, it's not. It's running a college football program. I'm done now.
Man,
I'm done.
I like that a lot.
Better? I feel better.
Good. I'm glad. No, you hit it exactly right. You need 4 at least to run practice. And I don't hate the idea of a guy who's coming from Stanford. He's got experience. He's got experience running and throwing, by the way. He had double-digit rushing attempts in all but 1 or 2 games for Stanford this past season. So if the projection, the prediction hits, you've got a guy who is intelligent and seasoned and can help some younger guy, help a true sophomore and a true freshman come in, just like whoever else they might go get out of the portal. You got a couple of people now to help these guys continue to get acclimated to what it is to be a college quarterback. So I don't see a lot of downside to this. That's the question, is like, what's your ceiling? What's your floor? We wear that phrase out in the offseason. I don't see a lot of downside to this addition.
Yeah, and we don't have, we don't know what his NIL compensation is. I can't imagine it's that crazy. I can't imagine it's hurting Auburn to bring him in. But also, right now, Auburn's quarterback room, they have a redshirt freshman and a true freshman.
Yeah.
And you need seniors. You need to stack the room accordingly. And how many guys are going to be able to bring experience to a room with 1 year left of eligibility, and probably not be the starter? There's not going to be many guys that are willing to do that.
Right.
And so I don't think you could be picky in that situation. And so for that specific role, you could do a lot worse than Ashton Daniels.
No question.
If Ashton Daniels is a starter, I'm panicking right now. But that's not what this is. That's not what this is. So let's look at what this prediction is for what it is. As we're talking about a backup quarterback who will be battling for Walker White for QB2.
It's the same reason you brought in both Keandre Lambert-Smith and Robert Lewis in the receiving corps last year, because you have all these freshmen, you have all this youth. I said freshman and sophomore earlier. I don't know why I said that. It's freshman and redshirt freshman. In
academically, he's a sophomore. I mean, second year guy. Yeah.
Right. So guys who are just coming into your program or have only been in your program a year. You have all these young receivers. You need older guys to help balance the room. And oh, by the way, both were, KLS was phenomenal. And then Robert Lewis was an important addition to the group. He was an important addition to the receiver room. So different positions, same general concept, fill out the room. You need the guys who, again, experience, intelligence, a level of ability, help you run practice, help you fill out the room, help young guys adapt further. Again, no downside. So I can't add a whole lot to what you very passionately explained. I thought that was phenomenal.
It's just the whole, everything is awful all the time. It's such a strange way to live life.
Yeah. Do you think people were just on edge because they saw the fake Cam Coleman tweet?
I don't think that helped.
No.
I don't think that helped. And how did we not see that coming? The amount of people that got by at Gators Troll or something.
Are these the same people that believe the Nigerian prince has also left them billions of dollars?
I saw some media people that I really respect bite on it. It's what are we doing? What are we doing here?
First rule, suspicious email, check the address.
Check
the URL.
It wasn't even Cam Coleman on the picture. It was Antonio Kite. And so then I'm wondering, was that on purpose?
Sure,
are they really trolling? Are they really?
Sure it was.
You think it was?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going to make this better? Look, I can tell you how the conversation went, probably. Don't you know it went down like this? Hey, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make it even better. I'm not even going to put him on the picture. I'm going to put the wrong guy on the graphic. I'm going to put the other number 8 that was on the team.
Yeah, it's not even on the team anymore. Yeah. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious stuff.
Can I tell you that in this rainy weather, that I feel phenomenal wearing my Roback hoodie?
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
it is
you can
right
tell
there.
me that.
Yeah.
You can tell me that.
I feel like I look just fine. I feel like I feel fantastic.
Yeah.
And I want you to experience the same thing when you go to roback.com and use our promo code.
We have a promo code.
Yeah, it's Vice20. Vice20. Save
for
20%
off?
Yeah, for everything. 20% off hoodies, 20% off quarter zips, 20% off polos, 20% off vests, 20% off everything that you want to load up in that cart for Christmas shopping or just to treat yourself because you're a fine human being.
You deserve it.
Go to roback.com, RHOBACK.com. You support this show and you improve your wardrobe tremendously.
Roback.com. So you asked me a pretty interesting question when we were kind of prepping our production meeting, if you will. It seems like publicly it's been reported based off of visits primarily that Auburn has reached out to 2 offensive guards, which we all agree offensive line, you got to add some dudes, but we all just kind of assumed it would be tackles. I mean, Auburn has guards, both the starters and the 2 deep. So it's kind of interesting that that was an interesting question that you asked me that I don't really know the answer to.
And now listen, I fully understand that you can also go after tackles and go after, of course, like you're looking at every, but I feel like Auburn's in a pretty decent spot at guard. Like if we broke down the positions you feel best about for 2025,
it's guard.
Guard's at the top, isn't it?
Interior offensive line, you feel really, really good about, especially if you get a tackle and you hold on to Dylan Wade, right? Which is what I assume they're trying to do. Is this a just in case Dylan Wade were to go pro, which I've heard that chatter. I don't think it's gone, but I don't know. Like they still have Tate Johnson as a backup, which I mean, I don't know. This staff seems like Tate Johnson. But then
Joyner.
Braden Joyner,
Dre Carter.
Dylan Cinda. I mean, they've got dudes at guard.
And so this is all coming from a couple of reports that TJ Moe, who's the starting guard at Arizona the last 2 years, that he is going to visit. And then also Josh Thompson, who is a starting guard at Northwestern. They're starting to pick up a little momentum now that he may visit or may have some. He's got interest in just about everybody in the Big Ten, but there is some Auburn chatter out there as well. And so my question was just, are we really looking at needing 1 or 2 more guards? Just how high up on the priority list is guard for this team? I wouldn't think very high, but I don't know. I also think you maybe the thought is any improvement you make on your offensive line, whether it's guard or tackle, you do that. I mean, you feel good about your guys now, but if you could feel great about them, wouldn't you want to take that opportunity?
Yeah. No question. And I mean, I think you should get the best players you can in every position. Yeah. But I just a little surprised. In fact, when I originally saw that report and saw the pictures of TJ Moe, I assumed he was a tackle, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So yeah. Auburn will still be in it for several offensive tackles, though, I think. Yeah. But I do think that was interesting. I thought that was interesting for sure. Another guy that they're hosting, next week is that Phoenix guy, the linebacker from Fresno State. And I like his game a lot. He's pretty decent in pass coverage, which I think is something a little different than the guys that are currently on the team. But
Phoenix Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, who don't want a linebacker named Phoenix Jackson?
You rise like the Phoenix.
It's an incredible name for any position, especially linebacker.
Yeah. 6 feet 220. From Modesto originally, had 49 tackles last year, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a forced fumble, and 4 pass deflections. Not bad. Not bad. And would have, a year? So you follow the Dorian Mausi route. We talked last week, you're going to need a couple linebackers in all likelihood.
Yeah, it's a good fit. I
Yeah.
think. I think it would be a good fit. So he's visiting us, Georgia Tech, and somebody else. But we'll see. We'll certainly see. You got to think if Auburn wants him, they'll be able to get him. So we'll see. We'll see on that.
Let's arrange a 3-team deal. If Jackson wants to go to Georgia Tech, and then the receiver comes to Auburn, and then we'll figure out who to send to Fresno State.
Okay, that's fine.
Eric Singleton, the Georgia Tech receiver. He'll be one of the highly sought after guys.
I mean, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Tell you what, he could be our KLS replacement.
Well, so in all seriousness, the season that KLS had, that now gives you the blueprint. What a pitch that is to another transfer target.
Yeah, I think so. I think I don't know how it would hurt it, especially when, I mean, they've got to figure out the quarterback situation. If I'm a receiver, I'm not signing with Auburn until I know who's throwing them the ball.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere until I know
whether it's officially or unofficially, but I need to talk to, whoever's coming in. But
right.
I mean, the pattern we saw last year, and every year it's going to get a little bit more closer to like what we need to expect long term, because this is all so new. Like, we don't really know like what to expect, what's normal as far as the timing of all of this. But
that's right.
Last year, everybody kind of waited as long as they could, which was different than the year before. And so we kind of all got impatient a little bit. So I think you're going to see more people take their time and take their visits. But if you're Auburn, like, you need to figure out who your quarterback is as soon as possible, because there's going to be several folks, and it seems like Auburn is interested in multiple tight ends that I've heard. The Oklahoma tight end that entered the portal, if you don't mind looking up his name. But that's certainly, Bauer. That's it. He's certainly a guy to watch from the Auburn point of view, is what I've been told.
Bauer Sharp.
That's it. And then, has Stanford had a tight end enter yet?
I've not seen that, just as we're talking, and we didn't go over that in our extensive production meeting.
We didn't. I don't even know if I should have said that yet. But yeah, so Auburn's in the market for tight ends for sure. And so, but if I'm a tight end interested in Auburn, like, I'm very hesitant until I know who's throwing me the football.
Yeah.
So they need to get on that.
Yeah. And they are. I mean, I'm sure they are. I'm sure every conversation that can be had is being had, and it's a really active day right now between the powers that be in those discussions. So
yeah. All right. Hey, for all of the portal chatter.
Yep.
Go check out thebarnauburn.com. Thebarnauburn.com. You can sign up for your first month is $1.
You can't get that sharp sweatshirt over at thebarn.com, thebarnauburn.com yet, can you?
No, you can't. We're working on it. Got to call this afternoon. I'm going to ask the question.
I can't wait for that.
Would you order one of these?
Yes, I would order one of those. I might order 2.
How about that? All right. But yeah, thebarnauburn.com. Be sure to check that out. So, do you want to talk about Auburn basketball being 2 still, being hot by Tennessee, or do we want to talk about the CFP bracket?
Well, what I think we could talk about both, because I think what Auburn staying at 2 means is that you value quality out of conference games, that when you schedule quality out of conference games and you win those, it pays off. And, even if you lose one when you've won 3 or 4 of them, as long as your loss is to a high quality team and not, say, a 500 team through the first month of basketball season, then you're not penalized for that. So you are, in fact, rewarded for playing quality teams. And I've always appreciated that about voters. So that's what it tells me.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You want to tie that to football now?
Yeah, I want to tie that to football. So here's the deal. What the Auburn fan in me wants to do is come in and just make fun of Alabama's reaction to getting left out of the playoff. Like, that's reasonable for an Auburn person to want to do.
Okay.
But I can't do that because I'm trying very hard to figure out what the actual argument is that's being thrown out there regarding their tough schedule. So their athletic director comes out and basically, threatens to hold everybody hostage for their schedule. Like, everybody wants to see Alabama play in these tough games, and maybe we just shouldn't schedule them. Maybe you know what? I tell you what, we're just not going to schedule these games. If we can't get into the playoff with 3 losses, we're just not going to schedule these games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Schedule Mercer and Toledo and San Jose State and Northern Kentucky. Who cares? We don't care. Win your conference games and you're in. You didn't make your conference schedule. The league office made your conference schedule. So maybe you did have some input, but the league office made your conference schedule.
Mm-hmm.
What's the argument? Like, if the argument is our wins against the SEC teams that we beat should count more than their conference wins, make that argument. I intellectually don't process the whole, well, maybe we just shouldn't schedule quality games.
Yeah, it's odd because, like, okay, sure, you went to Wisconsin, like you went to Camp Randall, and like, okay, that's cool. Like,
they beat Wisconsin at Wisconsin. SMU lost to BYU. That's the whole. Is that the argument?
Yeah, there's this belief that because, and I talked to some Bama folks about it last night, and they all said the same thing, and they don't know each other. So it must be like this fan base wide discussion point, which is, going to Camp Randall, it makes the other games tougher because it's just the grind week in and week out. So my response is, okay, literally everybody has to do that.
Yeah.
Literally everyone.
Yeah.
Whether you're on the home side of a home and home or the away side of a home and home, which you definitely have to do that, or it's a neutral site game, you've got to do that. And also, the non-conference opponent you struggled with the most was South Florida. It wasn't Wisconsin.
Right.
So, like, what are you doing?
But the non-conference schedule had nothing to do with getting left out or being picked. It had nothing to do with it. You could have played the 4 lowest rated teams in FBS football and gone 5-3 in the conference and been in the exact same spot.
Yeah, it's stuff like this that would not have happened with Saban here.
No, now that is true, and that's another point, is if ever there was a doubt that things are different, they're fundamentally, foundationally different.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. He ain't getting left out. Look at last year. He ain't getting left out.
Yeah, he's also not losing to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma.
Right. Correct. No, we said this before. Really good coaches in this league lose games on the road. It's not that their coach is a bad coach.
I think he's a really good coach. He's just not Nick Saban.
He's not Nick Saban. He's not a generational coach. You're going to lose some games. This is going to be a discussion like Ole Miss is having the same discussion. Missouri's having the same discussion. What makes Alabama special versus Ole Miss and Missouri for the 2024 season?
They would say it's because they beat Georgia.
Right. So did Ole Miss. So what's the difference?
I don't know.
They ain't one. They're not one. Yeah. Alabama's Ole Miss for 2024. I understand history. History don't matter. It's 2024. Why not Duke? Duke went 9-3. Duke's losses were 10 points at Georgia Tech, an overtime loss to SMU, and a loss at number 5 Miami. Those are their only 3 losses. Their losses are nowhere near as bad as Alabama's losses.
Yeah, my issue with the College Football Playoff Selection Committee has been the inconsistency of there's 2 different ways to grade and rank a team. One is resume, which is what we're doing. And the other is eye test, overall talent. How good do we think the team and roster is?
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with either. I think the first one makes more sense.
I do too,
because it's more, it's easier to scale and look at everything, and it's less subjective.
Right.
But the issue is they've mixed the two at an inconsistent rate.
Yeah.
The one thing they did correctly, I think, is make the stance that making your conference championship matters.
Yeah.
Because if that would have been bad.
Agreed.
That would have been really bad. And if they would have made it where, okay, well, SMU lost, so they're out, so Bama is in, then all of a sudden I think you have to have an interesting conversation about Texas.
Yeah.
If losing the conference championship matters and who did you beat becomes a question, I think you have to have a bunch of interesting and detailed conversations about a lot of these teams. But they didn't do that. So I think because of that, they were consistent on that front.
There's too much subjectivity in college football, whether it's rankings at the beginning of the year or putting out these projections in the middle of October. There's way too much. The NFL right now, okay, you don't see any power. You don't see rankings in the NFL. You don't see playoff projections halfway through the season start to come out. In the NFC South right now, there's only one team above 500. It's Tampa. They're 7-6. 7-6 would be the fourth place team in the NFC North. Don't matter. One of them teams from the South is going to the playoffs because that's the way the system works. It is an objective system. We'll get there eventually in college football. We will be at the point someday where you have two super conferences, you have divisions within the super conference, and there's an objective playoff format. Until then, way too much subjectivity, but I don't know. I didn't think this was hard. I didn't think this was a difficult decision at all. And I know there was drama and tension around it, but I just didn't think it was all that difficult to process intellectually.
Yeah, I think Boise's too high.
Oh, I do too.
Outside of that, I don't really have a problem with any of it.
Yeah. I mean,
so I guess technically I would switch Boise and Arizona State. I think that's all I would have done differently.
Yeah. I understand lowest rated conference champion is 12. I think Clemson is in a spot where they could do some damage at 12, but
not against Texas.
No, probably not. Yeah, that's true. Probably not against Texas. That's a good point. So yeah, I'm thrilled with it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. You're going to get probably going to get some blowouts, but I don't think you're going to get a ton.
Well, that's also college football.
Yeah.
Like college football, like it's not the NFL.
Right.
Like blowouts happen because I think the disparity in talent and the disparity of coaching is drastic.
Yeah.
It's drastic. So, which is why we love it, because sometimes it's drastic in the other direction that we're not expecting. So we'll see what happens. But Brad, I think that about does it for today's show.
It does. Thanks everybody for subscribing. Listen, tell your friends about Village Vice and the Barn Auburn on YouTube. We're closing in on 6,000 subscribers, and we appreciate every one of you. We really do. I will read the comments, and we appreciate you watching, commenting, subscribing. Remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.